Hello, I'm Chris Barrow with the BBC News. The authorities in the eastern Ukrainian region of Luhansk have said Russian tanks have begun advancing for a renewed assault. Western officials have said they expect Russia to double or even triple its forces in the Donbass, where they already have 40,000 troops. Frank Gardner has this analysis.
Ukraine has reached a crossroads in this war. Russian forces have now withdrawn from the north around Kyiv and are regrouping for an all-out assault on the eastern Donbass region. So the choice Ukraine had was whether to keep its most combat-ready forces there in the east to defend those parts of the Donbass it still controls, or pull them out to avoid being encircled by the advancing Russians. It's chosen to stay and fight, with President Zelensky vowing to defend every inch of Ukrainian soil.
The Ukrainian authorities say they're investigating cases of women being raped by Russian forces. Yogita Limoye reports from outside Kyiv.
Police say they are investigating the case of a woman in her 40s from a quiet rural neighbourhood in the west of Kyiv who was taken to a house in her village, raped and then murdered by one of the invading soldiers. Down the road from the building where she was killed, the BBC met another woman who said she was raped too. The woman's husband was shot dead by another soldier. Ukraine's human rights ombudsman has told the BBC about several other such cases. She said they were receiving calls on support helplines every day, but it was hard to assess the scale of sexual crimes because people were not usually willing to explain what happened to them.
The White House says President Biden used an hour-long video conversation with the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to emphasise it was not in Delhi's interest to increase its imports of energy from Russia. Mr. Biden told Mr. Modi the United States stood ready to help India diversify its energy imports and described the call as productive, not adversarial, despite the two countries' differing stances towards Moscow. India's Minister of External Affairs, Dr. S. Jaishankar, addressed the issue.
If you are looking at energy purchases from Russia, I would suggest that your attention should be focused on Europe. We do buy some energy which is necessary for our energy security, but I suspect looking at the figures, probably our total purchases for the month would be less than what Europe does in an afternoon. So you might want to think about it.
Reports from the Philippines say at least 25 people have died in landslides and floods triggered by Tropical Storm Maggie as it hit the eastern and southern coasts of the country. The majority of the victims were reportedly buried under a landslide in Baybay City in Leyte. The National Disaster Agency says more than 13,000 people fled to emergency shelters. BBC News. President Biden has announced new rules to crack down on what are known as ghost guns, privately made firearms without serial numbers that are increasingly being used in violent crime in the US. Ghost guns are sold in kit form and can be assembled at home. They do not require a license or a background check. Mr. Biden said such guns were the weapons of choice for many criminals. The Mexican authorities say gunmen have killed 8 people in an attack on a house near Mexico City. 6 women and 2 men died in the shooting in Tultepec, just north of the capital. Local media said they were members of the same family. An investigation has been launched into who carried out the killings. Mass burials have taken place in Nigeria's Plateau State for more than 130 people who were killed during attacks on several villages. Most of the dead were young men and children. As the victims from Sunday's raids were being buried, people were still searching for more bodies outside the 4 villages. The latest chapter in the Hollywood star Johnny Depp's legal battle with his former wife, Amber Heard, has begun in the United States over allegations made by the actress about domestic abuse. With the latest for us, here's David Sillito.
Johnny Depp and Amber Heard are returning to court, this time in Virginia in the United States. It was in 2020 that they last met in court in a libel trial in London, in which a judge ruled that claims that Johnny Depp was a wife-beater were substantially true. Those claims are at the heart of this second libel trial, this time about an article in the Washington Post written by Amber Heard. The couple arrived in court for yesterday's selection hearing, in which the jury was told to prepare for a case scheduled to last for up to 7 weeks.
David Sillito reporting. I'm Chris Barrow, and for now, that's the latest world news from the BBC.